Hello again. Until fairly recently, it was generally accepted that different ethnic groups each had their own particular strengths and weaknesses. So it was that although we were all of us aware that Indian pupils tended to do very well at school and be high achievers, likely to become doctors, accountants, or solicitors, we knew too that doctors of that heritage were more likely to indecently assault female patients. If we saw a newspaper headline which said that a GP had been found guilty of sexual assault on some female patients, we knew this was far more likely to be Dr. Chakrabarty than it was to be Dr. Smith. In the same way, we used to know that black boys were more likely to excel at athletics or football at school than they were to shine at physics or mathematics. We knew too that as adults there was more chance of those same young men being shot or stabbed than there was of white Jews suffering such a fate. I'm talking here of a set of assumptions, prejudices, if you like, that most people had about ethnic groups which enabled us to negotiate the world and understand what was happening around us. It did not, of course, mean that all Indian doctors interfered with women or every black boy was bound to be a good runner or boxer, but such trends were obvious and openly spoken of. Today, most people have learned to keep quiet about that sort of thing and to pay at least lip service to the idea that a Canadian is just as likely to email you with a proposition to make £1 million from some dodgy transaction involving the use of your bank account as is a Nigerian. We are also supposed to accept, at least publicly, that white people are as likely to be terrorists as Afghans or Arabs, and that a boy from a Jamaican family is as capable of getting into Oxford to read classics as is a white boy. We know that these things are all ridiculous, but it makes life easier and avoids unpleasantness if we simply go along with these modern notions of anti-racism and equalitarianism. This leads to our living in a fantasy world where we are all pretending that the world is actually very different from the way that it really is. If a friend's child is mugged in East London, then we affect not to know beforehand that the mugger was black. We put on an act of being colourblind. I wonder if it wouldn't be more healthy and honest if we started speaking openly about race rather than treating the topic as being faintly disreputable. It is, after all, something which most of us encounter every day in modern Britain. I don't see why we should be prudish about mentioning it. The taboos and delicacies surrounding the subject are worse than those which were once associated with sex, where once we saw sexual language printed as F with a bunch of asterisks after it. We now see the same thing happening with the N word, the P word, and so on. Race has replaced sex as a great taboo of our time.